Hey, check that out. You're listening to the Bench Podcast.
Voice crack there. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Bench Podcast. My name is Joey. This is Angel. We're on episode 218 today. Age, how you doing, man?
Kind of fully into the offseason mode. I feel like the Super Bowl was a lifetime ago now. Maybe because I'm not an Eagle fan, but that's what it feels like to me.
Even for me, it feels very long ago. It feels like we're ready to turn the page. Maybe just because we have a podcast and we have to start thinking about what's new, what's next. But yeah. Eagles definitely won the Super Bowl, and we're champs. And but all that being said, I'm ready to move on to the offseason. I love the offseason. If you're new to following our podcast, we obviously cover the season every week, reviewing games. Angel has his top 10. We do that for 2 years running now. We also jump into the offseason like no other. We love the trade deadline. We love the draft. We have a draft live stream. Last year, we live streamed for 6 hours, covering every pick of the draft, live, reacting. So much fun. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you, obviously you're subscribed already, click that notification button so you know that there's new content coming out over the summer. Just me and Angel today. We're going to switch the flow a little bit. When it comes to the off season, we have to start doing a little more specific type shows. As in, the season's kind of rinse and repeat. We kind of do the same type of show over and over again. But we're doing a little series here. We're starting an exercise that I'm very excited about, and that is fixing every NFL team in one offseason. Today we're starting with the NFC East, home of the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Angel took the Washington Commanders and the New York Giants. I took the Eagles, of course, and the Dallas Cowboys, of course. Angel handed out the teams, and I quickly realized that he got all the teams with the cap space, but that's okay.
I've been ever since last offseason, I'm so, for some reason, interested in the Giants front office. Because we saw him on the Hard Knocks offseason, and then we saw it play out with Saquon Barkley all year. And so you kind of wonder what the next step is. And the Commanders, that was a mistake. I did not realize that they had so much cap space. Like, they have a lot of cap space. They have a lot, and they have a good team. So it's fun.
So obviously we're going to say 5 moves. We're going to do 4 slots for either a trade if you want, a signing, a re-signing, whatever you want to do. Just 4 slots for a move, and then a first-round draft pick if your team has a first-round draft pick. And those are the moves we made, kind of the top-end moves here. We're going to preview kind of real quick the cap space situation, and we did look at all these numbers to make sure that this makes sense. We didn't just build Madden teams and 5 best players on every team, and that's our preview. No, we actually looked at the numbers, and we kind of thought through this thing. We looked at their rosters. We looked at what they would take, what they would need to reach that next level next year. And these 4 teams are exciting, mostly because I think 3 of them next year have a good shot at being playoff teams, and we'll see what happens with the Giants with that high pick. So let's jump into it. We'll start with the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles. They, of course, blow out the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but we're turning the page now. The Eagles have a decent cap situation, just under $20 million, because they have the best GM in the NFL in Howie Roseman. But it is cool to see, like, man, they are paying all these guys, and yet rolling into this offseason with $20 million cap space. That has to frustrate some teams, right? Some fan bases.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard it. Their GM, I'm looking on his name.
Howie Roseman.
Yeah. Okay, so Mel Kiper was talking about Howie Roseman. It was kind of trending because he was on first draft. They're going over Field Yates' second mock draft. Yeah. And Mel Kiper said that your boy, Howie Roseman, is already a Hall of Fame GM. And this is just a small example why. You have a very high roster. You're paying AJ Brown, you're paying Jalen Hurts, you're paying all these guys, and you have $20 million still to play with. That gives you leverage, that gives you versatility, that gives you like an ability to expand contracts, make it work. Howie Roseman is a phenomenal in-season GM, but he really shines in draft process during the free agency period.
Do you think he's a Hall of Fame GM already?
I mean, I think one more championship maybe, but he's on the Bill Polian thing where he's just always good.
Yeah,
he's always good, and his cap's never bad. He signs Jalen Hurts early, he signs Devonta Smith early, he signs everyone early to beat the thing, and the Cowboys, we'll get to them in a second, don't, and they have to pay the price literally. So he's just a phenomenal GM.
Yeah, he's interesting to look at. We won't glaze the Eagles too much because even though I'm an Eagles fan, I don't. This isn't a podcast about the Philadelphia Eagles. We like to cover all the NFL.
Yeah.
But it is just it's crazy to see the last two Super Bowls that he has won have been just directly tied to these moves that he's made that were just not very highly touted. Obviously, the biggest one in the first Super Bowl was that going out there and signing Nick Foles. That turns the dividends to make make them Super Bowl champions. And then this last Super Bowl, a handful of guys on my list today, and of course going out there and signing Saquon Barkley, who everyone kind of just scoffed at, like, oh, what does he have left in the tank? That's a massive overpay. You don't pay older running backs, all the different things. He's injury prone, so many things. And he kind of went out on a limb and said, no, I'm making the highest paid running back in the league when no one's paying running backs. And that worked out. And so many things linked back to him. I think he needs one more chip. I think I'm with you. One more chip to win a Super Bowl, or just be, or it's kind of different with GMs, because is it about chips or is it about like how long you were good? Like, he already has 2 Super Bowls. So like, has he already checked that box and just give me 10 more years of like high end GMing and like winning football and you're good?
Well, let's compare him to like Bill Polian, who's a Hall of Famer. One title.
One title,
about a decade of sustained success. So yeah, so I'm saying like he might already be a Hall of Famer because he's
right.
If you follow football closely, like which is what we do, we're freaking obsessed with it. You just realize every offseason he makes a move. The Devonta Smith draft day trade back to collect assets and to get him. Quinton Mitchell and Cooper DeJean fell to him, and then they had to Saquon Barkley. They had to almost zig where everyone's zagging, because if you remember, go back only 2 years ago, no one wanted to pay running backs anything. They wanted to think, we could draft somebody, we could find whoever. And look, to be fair, Giants drafted Tyrone Tracy, and he's decent. He's no Saquon Barkley. Sometimes we have a playmaker, you just keep him. And Howie Roseman realizes, if I have talent, I'm not going to let him go. If I do, it's not going to be for nothing. So he's a good GM. He's a great GM.
I'm not going to BS the people. Like, I have not always been a Howie Roseman fan. I think early on he really pissed me off. He did a lot of like smartest guy in the room things, and his biggest knock was really that he couldn't draft. He would miss these massive draft picks, and then he literally got benched as a GM. They handed the reins over to Chip Kelly. He stayed in the organization. Chip Kelly flamed out. He left, and then we get a Howie Roseman back, and the rest is history. But we'll move on to after this. The last 4 years of Howie Roseman first and second round picks. All right, here's the whole list: Quinton Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens, Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, Jalen Reagor, and Jalen Hurts. Obviously, the Jalen Reagor one's an absolute miss there, but the guy's been on fire for a couple years now, and props to him. But as of today, for this episode, I'm the GM. And I'm giving the Eagles a perfect offseason here. Let's get into it with this Eagle version of the perfect offseason. I hear I'm going to re-sign Mekhi Becton. I'll start with that one. Mekhi Becton entered last offseason 1 foot out of the freaking league, like almost completely gone, a complete bust for the New York Jets. He comes to the Eagles. He comes to legendary offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland University, as I like to call it in Philly, and turns around his career. He's one of the best guards in the game. He's massive. He's a vital cog to a Super Bowl offensive line, and so I think they need to prioritize signing Mekhi Becton, because at the end of the day, this team won because of the trenches, the defensive line and this offensive line. This offensive line blocked for a 2,000-yard rusher. And I know Saquon Barkley's amazing, but obviously even the great Saquon Barkley is somewhat tied to his offensive line. Just look how it played out with the New York Giants. So how do you feel about that being my priority this offseason? Let's sign the big man.
I like it. I don't love it, because I feel like you guys are so good at finding, diamonds in the rough. You can just pick a random guard and make him better than what he is. I think Becton alone I wouldn't sign him for this, but I think it's so dependent. He's next to Lane Johnson and Jurgens. That's such a nice fit. So I like it. I don't love it. but I like it because obviously last year 2,000 yards. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So yeah. If you have the room and the versatility to do it, do it.
These projected numbers are from Spotrac. So 4 years, 40 million is kind of what he's projected to get. And there has been some articles out there already that he's going to most likely give the team a kind of a team friendly deal, take maybe a little bit less. And so we'll see how that works out. And you got to imagine, I mean, the guy has to be super thankful. Like he was almost out of the league, and now he's going to change his whole family trajectory after one season with Jeff Stoutland. So hopefully he shows some of that gratitude back to the Eagles, re-signs for a better number. My second guy here might shock you because we've had this conversation before, and the second guy has always been someone else on the defense, Milton Williams. I'm passing on Milton Williams here, and I'm signing Zach Baun. He's projected to make 2 years, $19 million, which I think linebackers are the next position group that need to be pounding the table for raises because I was floored that this was the projected number, but it's right in line with the best linebacker contracts out there. Matt Milano has the best one, and per year he makes about the same as Zach Baun. Zach Baun, first team All-Pro. He was amazing, a playmaker throughout the playoffs. Obviously picked off Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Like literally, you cannot have a greater success story than Zach Baun this year. Maybe Mekhi Becton, but Zach Baun, kind of like Mekhi Becton on the defensive side, he gets 2 years, $19 million. I think he anchors this defense for years to come. And you'll know this. There's just certain guys, and I'm not gonna box them into this, but there's certain guys that just work in this Vic Fangio defense. There's certain guys that this fits them like a glove. Seems like Zach Baun's one of those.
Yeah, I mean, highlighted by his interception of Patrick Mahomes in the freaking Super Bowl. Just the perfect fit. Like, when he was with New Orleans, he was like an average to below average linebacker. He was just, and then Zach Baun came, then they guys signed Devin White, and then we realized, or they announced that they cut Devin White. Then you were kind of wondering, what is Zach Baun's the guy? And he proved it. Zach Baun, incredible story to go to become an All-Pro on a championship team. Like, there's like 8 movies that can be made out of the Eagles players individually. He's one of them. Like him and Becton. Like those guys were like castaways, almost not even being signed by a team. Eagles, I guarantee you, no matter what the Eagles say, they were not envisioning him being an all-pro linebacker.
No.
But they are. And if I were him, you have young coach, young quarterback, take a deal, stay with Philly. Like, why leave?
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the rest from here. They're kind of smaller signings, but we are respecting the cap space as real here. I do think, kind of as a side note, they'll extend Cam Jurgens as well, and that'll add to their cap space. Also, these are the cap spaces not affected by the recent raise that's anticipated across the league. The league hasn't actually announced that yet. It's kind of just been announced that it's coming. But when that happens, all these numbers will go up. I'm thinking anywhere from 3 to 6, 7 million. And so might have a little more space in here, but we'll operate with what it is at this moment. And so moving on here, I have Isaiah Rodgers. This is a big deal because I think this marks the end of Darius Slay in Philadelphia. He kind of said before the Super Bowl, this is probably his last game of the Eagles, and he was a captain and everything. I don't really understand what the tension is because the locker room seems to love him. He seems to have a good time playing there. Like his teammates love him, his position groups love him. But it seems like he's on his way out. And I think he's going to go finish his career in Detroit. And all the best to you, Darius. We got a Super Bowl when you're here. Like, wish you nothing but the best. But I think Isaiah Rodgers steps into that role now. Spotrac has him getting 3 years, $15 million to be a starting cornerback for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Quinyon Mitchell switched over to that CB1 role. Isaiah Rodgers in that too. And you keep Cooper DeJean kind of in a nickel joker type role. I don't think you want to just stick him on one side of the field. I think he's too valuable for that. I think you want to keep him all over the place. Him and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson kind of really excelled in that role this year. And so Isaiah Rodgers, I think, someone they signed. Dante Fowler is someone that I chose off a list of veteran pass rushers. This could be. I thought about Von Miller here. I thought about what's his name, Preston Smith here. Any one of these guys. I think we give a decent deal to. Josh Sweat, I think, is in command, nearly $80 million. I don't think we keep him. They have Jalix Hunt, who played really well in the playoffs, as well as Nolan Smith. I think they give those guys a shot, but I don't think they go in without a vet. I think Dante Fowler is a decent fit here. How do you feel about Von Miller on the Eagles? I know you're the biggest Von Miller fan I know.
Yeah. Vaughn and the Eagles is solid, but Dante Fowler, 10 sacks last year, is not to be overlooked. Okay. Dante
He was
Fowler
great.
he did great last year. I wonder if the Commanders keep him in house or not. But yeah, no, Fowler's had a very underrated season. I love Vaughn. Vaughn's one of my favorite Broncos of all time, favorite players of all time. John Elway's first pick that led to a eventual Super Bowl in Super Bowl 50. But Von Miller passes a little bit more pass. Dante Fowler had 10 sacks last year on a defense where the interior linemen were being eyed upon. That's exactly what Philadelphia is. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis in the middle. Even without Milton Williams, there's still the focus is on the interior, so he would get a lot of ISO pass rush opportunities. Yeah, I think this is a great fit. This is a fun. That'd be a Howie Roseman signing. Is a Dante Fowler because no one's gonna like. It's not gonna be a headline. It's not gonna be in the news, but it's gonna be an impactful pickup because if Sweat goes, he's a nice fill-in. Might be better than Sweat.
Yeah. And then here's something that like kind of like as I looked into these numbers and these free agents, the Eagles defensive linemen just don't play a lot of snaps. I was looking at Milton Williams, and that's kind of the guy that I didn't see myself leaving him off this list. I want Milton Williams to stay. I think the Eagles roster is overall better with him. Milton Williams played less than half the snaps this year for the Eagles. He was a rotational defensive tackle, so he was constantly fresh. And I just trust Howie Roseman because I saw him do this exact thing with Javon Hargrave. Javon Hargrave was coming off a very similar year that Milton Williams had, and we let him walk in free agency. I hate to see it happen. He's still a fine player, but he was never Javon Hargrave like he was that last year with Philly. And that's because of this, I think, rotational approach that they take. They like to keep a deep defensive line and build it around maybe one or two players. Right now, I think those one or two players could be Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter really the big one, and kind of fill in around. And so I think they let Milton Williams walk. Moro Odighizuwa out of Texas really came on last year. I think he kind of is in a rotational role. And then my last move here is drafting defensive tackle Darius Alexander, I believe out of Toledo. I did some research into him. He's kind of an immediate rotational guy with the opportunity to grow into a greater role, kind of their value at the end of the first round. And so
Sounds familiar.
Exactly, right? That's where Nolan Smith was drafted. I think they draft someone like that can kind of grow into a role, knowing they don't need him to start right away. They can roll into next year with Jordan Davis and Moro Odighizuwa and Jalen Carter at defensive tackles and be just fine. And so I'm not too worried about not bringing back Milton Williams, but I mean, how do you feel about that? Me passing on Milton?
Milton Williams is gonna get the bag somewhere. It's gonna be very hard. Like
that's what I'm saying.
As much as Phil likes him, as much as he probably loves Philadelphia, and that's obviously where he matured into the player that he is now. Sometimes these guys they want to get a chip and then get the bag. He got a chip, now he wants to go get paid some more, and he will. People will. He's probably the third or fourth highest paid free agent this year, behind T. Higgins and that kind of realm of player. Trey Smith too, but Milton Williams, yeah, I would love to see him there because he fits so well next to Jalen Carter. They complement each other so well. He play inside and out. But yeah, I think his time is gone. If you guys signed Milton Williams, I mean, Hall of Famer Howie Roseman shows off again. But yeah.
Spotrac has Milton Williams, just for context, making 4 years, $40 million. I feel like he gets way more than that.
He's getting in the 70 guarantees.
Yeah. I think it's more than that.
Yeah. It's so funny too because this is like a fix the Eagles or fix a team. The Eagles, this is just maintaining. This is not even fixing. Yeah. This is maintain what you got, which is what good teams do. So,
and start planning, start preparing for like every good team, every Super Bowl team for sure. You start to lose players, and so start bringing in that next layer of players, drafting guys who could eventually be cheaper. That's the Philadelphia Eagles. That's how I would handle the offseason at this moment. February 21st. So a lot is going to change before they take the field, later this year. But that's the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's move on now to your first team, and that is the New York Giants. You had them with $45 million. I saw this number kind of vary throughout, whatever website I was looking at. I saw 41, 45, 43, somewhere around these 40s. Go ahead and tell me what you did.
Yeah, so there's a couple reasons. Okay, let me start with there's a couple guys that they can cut to create. It's going to be whether or not they draft a certain player, because a lot of these guys can be cut and create spots post free agency, so they can create space. Yeah, so let's start off with the most important position in football, quarterback. And this will tie into my draft pick too. I have them signing to a 2-year deal Sam Darnold, quarterback, New York Jets, and then obviously now Minnesota Vikings. This is more. Let me just backtrack to last year, or to the comments by Jim, not Jim Mora, the Giants owner. I'm looking at his name. But he was
John
basically
Mara.
saying like they better win right away. And what is the riskiest thing in football is a rookie quarterback. So my mindset behind this is desperation. They need to win right away, and they need to get players that are ready right now. So my thing is, if I'm trying to win right now, I want something that's been proven, and that's something that we've seen already. We've seen be good. We've seen Sam Darnold be good. Everything besides 2 games, 1 bad month, he was damn near elite, one of the best quarterbacks in football. Last year, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I think he's a good fit, and I still believe that Dable's a better quarterback coach than most people think. Like Drew Lock had a couple nice games. Obviously, Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones. He fooled us all, but he's had some nice games with some bad quarterbacks. Brian Dable, and physically, Sam Darnold has everything that you kind of want. That's why he was a number 2 overall pick. He's a big physical guy, big arm, and we saw last year if he's trying to with a certain amount of playmakers and give him like a simplified offense, you can do that. I think Dable kind of will kind of bring that, and that'll lead me to my second guy, offensive guard Trey Smith. So last year, obviously, the Giants' offensive line not great. Their right guard, Van Roten was their right guard. 35 years old next year. He's clearly out. Andrew Thomas hurt last year. I think if you sign Trey Smith, obviously the marquee lineman of the whole offseason, pair him with Andrew Thomas, right? You start to build a young O line. You can't fix this in one offseason. You have to start just pillars and pillars and pillars. So I think Trey Smith. And they could sign him. They could give him a max guarantee contract. They can really do whatever they want. Him and Andrew Thomas as the building blocks for the future of the Giants is phenomenal one for Sam Darnold, because Sam Darnold needs a clean pocket just like every other quarterback, and for the future, like even like owners and GMs won't hesitate to sign linemen who are young, because that's an instant impact and it's a long-lasting value, because you sign them now. Next year the cap goes up, the number goes higher. Landon Dickerson and Quentin wow, I forgot his last name. The highest paid guards in football last year set the bar high. So you don't want to wait on these guys. I think Trey Smith with Sam Darnold will revamp and redo this whole offensive side of football, because last year you saw how bad it was. Bad O-line, bad quarterback play. You make it to where you have a nice landing spot for playmakers. You have a good O-line and a good quarterback. That's why my next guy, I was this close to bringing back Darius Slayton. I was this close.
Hold on. You're flying through this. Let's pump the brakes a little bit, all right? We didn't talk about Sam Darnold. Let's talk about Sam Darnold first before we move on. Sam Darnold going to the Giants. Spotrac has a 4-year, $160 million deal. You're getting 2 years, kind of the same yearly. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Well, it's like a Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith deal. Like it's 4 year, but it's really 2 year. Like you can get out of it after 2 years.
Do you think that 4-year, $160 million deal is out there?
I think desperate teams like the New York Giants will gladly give it out. Look, I think there's enough evidence in the NFL where these number 1 overall picks who flamed out in their first team, maybe even second team, can come back and have a decent career. We saw Baker Mayfield lead the Buccaneers. We saw Geno Smith redo his whole entire career in Seattle. I think this is just another line of this guy. Whether you believe it or not, he's proven to be good last year. I know he had Justin Jefferson, but you kind of project that the Giants and with their draft pick, who I won't say yet, are they like last year drafted Theo Johnson, tight end. Last year drafted Malik Neighbors, superstar or star wideout. You have Tyrone Tracy in the backfield. You have Warner Robinson, in the slot. You have the makings of a good playmaker, of not the same as Minnesota, but similar, like maybe two or three levels down, to where Sam Darnold can thrive and he doesn't have to really think too much. Like when in doubt, just throw it to Neighbors, just how he did last year, like throw it to Justin Jefferson. I think
I will
he's
say,
a very specific quarterback to place.
okay, it's a lot. I think if you bring him to New York, you better bring 2 or 3 offensive linemen, or else you will not get the best of Sam Darnold.
Yeah, that's why I paired
If
him with
you,
Trey Smith.
I think
You got to.
I would bring in Trey Smith. I would go ask Ronnie Stanley if he plays right tackle. I would go and get guys because we've seen if you don't protect Sam Darnold, bad things are going to happen. That being said, I do like the signing. I think you give him a shot with Brian Dable, and you see how it works. You got to take chances at quarterback here, and sometimes you hit. And I think that's a good chance to take someone who had that kind of season last year. As far as Trey Smith, I think it's a thing. Eagles, I have a skewed thought of him because I just saw Jalen Carter and Milton Williams throw him around. But I think with something Trey Smith never had in KC was an elite left tackle next to him, and that matters. Like I think Landon Dickerson, I know there's a lot of Eagle references, but that's just what I know. I know Landon Dickerson is a stud by himself. It helps him that to his left is Jordan Mailata, and there's that kind of passing off, is that kind of football IQ. You put Trey Smith next to Andrew Thomas, and I think that's exactly what you get. You get an elite side of the line, something you can run behind, something you can design plays toward. You roll out that way. Like when you need that half to get it 3 yards, we know where we're going type thing. And so I like that sign of Trey Smith, and I think that's the move that good organizations make. I think you go in and you sign good offensive linemen. I think we saw Sean Payton do that right away. As soon as he took over the team, he signed Matt McGlinchey and didn't he get the center as well?
Ben Powers out of Baltimore.
Ben Powers, like he went and got offensive line. I think good teams, good GMs, good coaches understand you got to build the trenches out. So those 2 moves, I think right off the bat, they are a much better team already. And I think Malik Neighbors is like thanking everyone in the building. Like, I'm so happy to be here. I'm ready to thrive. I'm ready to take off. Your next guy that you have on your list here is an old friend, and you have him on the Giants now. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is where, because we have to be realistic with this cap number. I spent a lot of money on Sam Darnold and a lot of money on Trey Smith. So the next is veteran safety Justin Simmons. Last year only signed 1 year, $7 million. I imagine that number is going to come down to 1 year, 5 or 4.
That's what it's projected as.
Yeah. So I think you can afford that. Maybe even make it into a big signing bonus where you can kind of make it work. Last year, obviously Tyler Nubin, strong safety, great pick. But Jason Pinnock is their free safety. He's gone. I think a nice veteran safety to pair with this young with this young safety Nubin. I think that's a nice one too. And also, this team's desperate to win. They're like Shane and Dable only have 1 year left. I think this will instantly bring them to like maybe an average defensive. I'm not saying that they're going to be a great duo, but they'll be better than what they were last year. Year 2 Nubin. Simmons is a veteran safety. He's just a nice, easy veteran signing. Place him right in that free safety. Let him just go be a ball hawk, do what he's done his entire career. Not as impactful as we might think, but this is it's a quality signing for cheap.
Yeah, and it kind of plays into like what you said your goal is, and that's a team that's competitive right now. And I think you bring someone like Justin Simmons in year 2 of Nubin, and I think you have a strong back end of your defense there. I like the signing. I was surprised by the number. 1 year, just under $6 million is what he's projected to get. Yeah. I thought he was more impactful than that last year. I think there's at least a chance he gets a little more than this, but not going to break the bank for Justin Simmons, and I think it's a home run move for the Giants. Let's talk about BJ Hill, but let's be honest, we all see that name at the bottom of your list. But talk about BJ Hill first, and then we'll move on.
BJ Hill is just a value. They don't have anyone who's next to Dexter Lawrence. They just need someone there who can look. He's not what he used to be. He's turning 30 this year. But I think BJ Hill will be a nice compliment to Dexter Lawrence, to Brian Burns. Obviously, just there's a complementary piece. Makes them better than what they were last year. Like the Justin Simmons of he's the interior lineman he's the Justin Simmons of interior lineman. Just a solid guy, not a superstar, not even a star, just a solid starter. And for cheap. Last year he signed for, he got off a big deal, but he might sign for like $3 or $4 million to make it work.
BJ Hill types seem to shine too when they're surrounded by Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence. Now BJ Hill is never facing a double team all year. and maybe even forgotten about at some place. Go ahead, man. The last guy on your list here is a big name.
Yeah, I have the Giants. Obviously, I have the case. So this is what how the scenario that's played out in my head. Tennessee and Cleveland pick one to take Cam Ward and Shadir Sanders 1-2. That's
Okay.
why this scenario would work. The best player in most people's big boards is Travis Hunter, cornerback, wideout. Okay, in the combine, they listed him as a DB. Most scouts, I've listened to so many podcasts, read so many articles. He's CB1 and wideout one. They have a bunch of like average to below average cornerbacks there. I think he instantly becomes CB1 there. And then you pair Travis Hunter with a Wanda Robinson, with a Malik Neighbors, have him fit in, not just be like the 1A, but be like a 2 or even like a 3. It's not all on you to be the wideout one. We don't want to put too much pressure on this guy who wants to play both sides, but we'll see how that plays out in the NFL. We don't know. So if it fails on one side of the ball, maybe an offense, we still have a CB1, and it's less pressure on him. He doesn't have to play that many snaps. And I think passing over or not passing a prospect like this is what they need to do to fix what they've been doing, is that not drafting right and not putting talent around their quarterback or on both sides of the ball. Travis Hunter is the best player in this draft. I think it's a slam dunk. I think they walk away with Travis Hunter, Trey Smith, Sam Darnold in the offseason. You fix both sides of the ball in a second, because Travis Hunter becomes CB1, Trey Smith, Sam Darnold are able to make that offense go down to another level. Look, the Eagles are in the division. The Eagles are going to be the best team. Number 2, I don't know. That's a pretty good team. Sam Darnold had the Vikings in almost near the damn near number 1 seed. Like, let's
piss
not
some Commander fans off.
Look. Football's weird. Each year football is
Look where the
1 year's
Commanders
not
were
the
last
same.
year.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this Giants team has sort of a decent landing spot but you need stars. You need a Trey Smith, you need a Sam Darnold, you need a Travis Hunter. You need these guys to fill in those spots, obviously. So that's how I would fix the New York Giants. It was a fun exercise because the Giants are desperate. So this whole mindset here is like, how can I win as fast as possible? Insert Sam Darnold, Trey Smith, Travis Hunter, both sides of the ball, kind of just floating back and forth. Justin Simmons in the backfield, obviously. So it was a fun team to like kind of project.
Yeah, New York Giants adding quarterback lineman and a couple of some defensive veterans, and of course the big move would be Travis Hunter in New York he'd be a star. Him and Malik Neighbors on the same team is a lot of eyes. They would start to get some what's it called, some primetime games for right
and some
away.
Season ticket holders. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to get some hype around the Giants finally.
All right, we've done the Eagles and the Giants. Take a quick break, and we'll finish up with the Cowboys and the Commanders. Be right back. Sports fans, are you ready to take your passion for the game to the next level? Introducing BETR Picks, the ultimate way to play fantasy sports and win big. With BETR Picks, you can unleash your skills by picking more or less of your favorite players' stats. And guess what? You can win up to 2,000 times your entry. That's right. Just imagine turning a small play into a huge payday. BETR Picks makes it easy, exciting, and rewarding in a wide range of sports like NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. Now available in 33 states, including, yes, our very own California. Whether you're a diehard sports fan or just getting started, BETR has something for everyone. And here's the best part. When you sign up using our promo code BENCH, that's BENCHD, you'll get a first entry match up to $250, win or lose, plus a free pick to get you started. Don't miss out on an amazing opportunity to elevate your game. Click on the link in the description. Download the app and join the action today. Make sure to enter our promo code, that's BENCHD, BENCH, during registration to claim your bonus. It's time to play, predict, and win only with BETR Picks. Okay, we are back with the Washington Commanders. Angel, no shame, awarded himself the Washington Commanders offseason with $80 million in cap space and made the best rookie quarterback of all time. Take it away, Angel, and do whatever you want because you have all the cap space in the world.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun offseason for this exercise, yeah. But in real life, too, the Commanders had a rookie quarterback who's one of the best in his division. One of the, whenever you have a superstar quarterback on a rookie deal, the sky's the limit because you could pay everybody. You could whoever you want, overpay because you can. I didn't go too crazy though. I gave him guys who I thought would be good for like the future and like kind of like good now, but better at like long term wise. I was thinking more long term for them. Let's just start off with right off the bat, wide receiver Chris Godwin, coming off a fractured ankle. Obviously, last year in 7 games, 50 catches, 576 yards, 5 touchdowns, was on pace for a record for a career year, obviously, and then he got hurt. I think pairing him with Scary Terry would make a legit 1-2. Last year, it was just Scary Terry. Terry McLaurin making doing all the plays. Zach Ertz doing what he could, whatever. But I think Godwin will give him another weapon who's different. That's what I like about him and Terry's more of a perimeter guy. He gets over the middle stuff, obviously, but Godwin operates that short to intermediate role. Say you don't sign back Ertz, and you have to. Last year they drafted Sanat in like the 3rd or 4th round, tight end. Maybe he becomes the starter this year and he comes on a little bit slower. You have Godwin there to fill in that gap, and obviously in the playoffs you want playmakers everywhere that you can get them. So Chris Godwin here, I think a solid fit, right? I think this is a nice fit to pair with Scary Terry.
I love Chris Godwin. The football player, the man. I think he is just the exact type of guy you want in your football team. And they have championship aspirations right now. You go talk to Commanders fans, and they certainly have championship aspirations. And he should. You have a great young quarterback, and you have a window here where you don't have to pay him. And so go take a swing at Chris Godwin. I don't think the injury thing is as big of a deal. It's a broken ankle. That can happen to anyone at any time. He doesn't have a history of broken bones. He just plays football, and he got hurt. And so I think he comes back just fine. Maybe start slow, whatever, but 3 years, $6-7 million, or however long you want to sign him. This is not just for this year. There's a guy you can have in-house for a couple years. I kind of think of him as the wide receiver version of a little bit younger Zach Ertz. Like, just he's going to be a safety blanket where he needs to be. And I think something Jay Daniels didn't get the credit for last year. Yeah, he was dynamic. Yeah, he made big plays with his arms. He was like a supercomputer with reading the field.
Yeah.
And finding guys and throwing guys wide open. Guys like Olamide Zaccheaus and Noah Brown. Switch those guys in with Chris Godwin, and this is a different type of team. Some of these underneath routes are a lot bigger gains. The ball security is much better. He's also a great run blocker. So with a running quarterback, I think of Jaden Daniels taking off down the field and Chris Godwin just erasing a safety or a cornerback. I think it's a great fit. It's a great locker room fit, which they've shown that means something to them. The character guys in the locker room mean something to them. Chris Godwin checks that box as well. And I'll say this. I love this list, and we kind of joked about, just signing everyone. The Commanders have shown they're aggressive. They signed everyone last year. They just started signing guys. And so this isn't out of the realm of possibility that they can make these kind of moves. And I think starting Chris Godwin's super solid, but I love your next one probably even more. Go ahead.
Really? Patrick Mekari, swing tackle, offensive guard. Look, Sam Cosmi is their best lineman. He's out for the year. And if he just come back, it'll be in the playoffs. You need a guy who's you can start, but don't have to commit yourself too long term. Give Mekari a 2-year deal. Let him be the right guard. And then he comes back next year. When Sam Cosmi comes back, make him maybe at that point, Andrew Wiley's ready to go. You put him at right tackle, but Cosmi there back at right guard. It's more of trying to you have to just deal with Sam Cosmi being out without overpaying or there's no guard besides Trey Smith who I would just sign and give a big deal to. He's right at the top, and then it falls to much of average or older guards. I was gonna give him Zettler, but Zettler I feel like he's 34, so he's good this year. You don't play long term. Mekari's been a solid swing tackle. He played left guard for the Ravens last year. He's played right tackle, played left tackle. A very versatile lineman. They did get eaten up by Philadelphia in the playoffs last year, but everyone did. That's just what the Philly did. I'm not going to put too much on that. I think this is a solid signing and a responsible signing. This would be a signing that would tell me they're a mature team that knows what they need and what they don't need. You don't need heavy contracts for average players. You give him a regular deal for a regular player because his position versatility and the need there at right guard is so evident. And then you can maybe draft a guard and see who wins that competition, and maybe the card doesn't even play. So it's a nice safety blanket.
I like Mekari not because so much of the player, but just I am all for, even before wide receiver, offensive line. Build this offensive line, build this running game, and you get Jaden Daniels behind a line like that and running it behind that, and it's going to be a huge problem for the whole league. Um, Other names I want to throw in here for the mixed offensive line, I think in Ronnie Stanley. I'm thinking, is it James Daniels out of Pittsburgh?
Yeah, James. Yeah. Those were guys, but I feel like you'd have to get Stanley to commit to right tackle.
Yeah.
Well, they have a weird thing going because could be a cap cut, so this could all change in a week if Wiley gets cut. But yeah. Obviously, any lineman there would be a a nice signing for them.
They got a ton of money, so my point is just I'm down for all the money they want to throw at the offensive line.
Yeah,
I'm here for it. Go do it. I think it's the right move, and that's why I like Mekari. And I think it's a good place to start here with Chris Godwin, Mekari, and then let's see what else you got going on here. Let me switch it back over.
Ooh. Next I have him signing middle linebacker Nick Bolton, obviously 26 years old. Last year, Bobby Wagner did an admirable job. That he's a solid linebacker.
He's a free agent.
He's a linebacker captain of the future. I think you get Nick Bolton there, have him be the centerpiece, the quarterback of that new defense that Dan Quinn is trying to create. I think him next to Luvu is a great one too. Both play the run well. Wagner, for all he's good at, he wasn't great in the run last year. You know what you need to do in the NFC East? Stop the run, especially if the Cowboys draft Jeanty and the Eagles have Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. You need a thumper linebacker who's not all thump. He's a little bit more of a dancer than like people give him credit for. Yeah, I think Bolton there is a solid sign, and they can afford it. They have all this money, and there's a guy in his prime, Super caliber, Super Bowl experience in his prime, a position of like need that's been one of the first signings that Dan Quinn had was a middle linebacker. It's a big position for him and his defensive mindset. I think this is my favorite besides Godwin. No, I like this over Godwin. Right? This is probably my favorite.
This is I think most likely to happen. Like things that we talked about today. Nick Bolton's gonna get a lot of money. Spellcheck projected him 4 years, just under $50 million. He might get up to 55. He's gonna be the highest paid middle linebacker in the league because he's just 25, I think. Still, he's played in multiple Super Bowls. Like, he's a high character guy. He's durable. He's like everything you want to build your defense around is Nick Bolton. And here's a team with $80 million in cap. It just makes too much sense not to happen. Yeah. I absolutely love this. And it's him and Luvu together is something you could really build off as a defense there with Dan Quinn. I love the move.
Yeah, and then lastly, I picked a re-sign. Jeremy Chin had his best year since his rookie year. If you guys don't remember his rookie year when he came out, everyone thought he was the next best. And then he had a couple of years because it was in Carolina. But he's just another example of when someone leaves Carolina, they become what they're supposed to be. Jeremy Chin is a very good, very, very good safety. And Dan Quinn has always liked these bigger, strong safeties. Obviously, Cam Chancellor's like the guy for that. But he likes these bigger, strong safeties that he could put in the box, put in nickel. I think he found his home there, and I think Dan Quinn, like last year's deal was so great, and they could afford to pay him now. I think this is a perfect fit, and he's young enough to where you can see a future there.
I think you're starting to build something here on defense. You get Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen up front, Nick Bolton and Luvu in your second level. Jeremy Chin now. You brought in Marcus Lattimore last year. Let him get healthy, acclimated to this defense. You now got some real talent on this defense. I was so confident that the Eagles were going to beat the Commanders, not because of Jaden Daniels or anything going on offense. I just knew they could not stop anything on defense.
Yeah,
the run, they could be bullied, they can just be run over, and that's what happened. And so I think you do need to attack the offseason like this, with just let's go get blue chip talent on the defensive side of the ball. Jaden Daniels is going to be able to make the most out of whatever we do on the offensive side. And Cliff Kingsbury's back. Let's invest in that defense, and let's make a real run. I like it, but I love what you did here with the draft.
Yeah. In the draft here, obviously they picked late because they got to the title game. But I think if this falls to their lap, they're going to jump all over it. Treyveyon Henderson, Ohio State running back. Listen, we saw last year. Let's just stick with last year's philosophy for the Washington Commanders. Austin Eckler in conjunction with Brian Robinson. Austin Eckler is not what he once was, but even when he was on the field, you could see the balance and the last year 44% running back share went to Brian Robinson, and that was their lead back. Obviously, they like to split things up. Austin Eckler had 34% I think you switch that out, but Treyveyon Henderson there, who's projected to be like a change of pace, maybe like a 1A or 1B back, not really a workhorse, but part of a system. I think him and Brian Robinson, you become a lesser version of what the Lions have, with the Montgomery and Gibbs. I think you create a running game that one scares people and two is versatile, because Brian Robinson isn't a terrible pass catcher, but Treyveyon Henderson is a fantastic pass catcher who you can split out wide, split out in the slot. Yeah, I think if they were to draft Treyveyon Henderson and get Godwin, the playmakers around Jalen Daniels have just increased by a crazy margin, which is what you want to do from year to year. You want to make sure you're a quarterback. You have it. Let's be aggressive. Let's give him a running back. Let's give him a wideout. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I thought. I was going to give him tackle, but I gave them Mekari. So Patrick Mekari. So I kind of solved that. So I had a little fun here and Henderson just a good fit.
I think Henderson would be awesome, and him and Brian Robinson would be formidable. So when the Commanders I think were at their best is when they play fast. That's what Cliff Kingsbury wants to do. That's what Jalen Daniels did in college. That's where they're at their best. Get the defense on their heels and just let Jalen Daniels pick you apart. Let him run. Let him, whatever it is. And I think you get someone like Treyveyon Henderson. Austin Eckler, I think, did the best that he could. I think we saw better football from Austin Eckler that we expected. He had a great year. But there's obviously limitations there. He was hurt a lot. I think Treyveyon Henderson in a fast-moving offense and just Brian Robinson as more of that short yardage, mix-in type of, kind of wear him down maybe in the fourth quarter type running back. Yeah. And I think you're really, really cooking here. Also want to note, it's a very deep tight end draft. And so maybe if a Loveland falls, something like that in the second round, maybe you also get a young tight end as well. And just like that, you have all the weapons you need. Listen, man, this team played in the national the NFC title game. And their NFC title game, $80 million in cap space and a young quarterback. It's going to be fun. And you should be excited, Washington, because you haven't had this kind of success in my whole lifetime. Yeah. So it's fun.
Yeah, the Washington team, it was funny. I don't want to go too crazy with I was thinking T. Higgins and Trey Smith and everybody. But this is more guys that would fit their kind of style. They're a fast-paced offense. You get a bunch of fast-paced wide. You get a slot guy, then you get a running back. Yeah, the Washington Commanders are going to be everyone's sexy pick, and we think if they have an offseason like this, like I just laid out, everyone the projection is going to go crazy.
And everyone's on the board. Let's be fair.
Yeah,
they could do whatever they want. This is what you would do, but they could do whatever they want with all that cap space, and it's just I love it.
This segment is brought to you by Dad Gang Hats. Dad Gang makes the highest quality hats in the apparel industry because they use premium materials, pay close attention to detail, and prioritize durability and comfort. With so many styles, colors, and designs, they absolutely have the right hat for you and the dad in your life. Use code BENCHED76826. That's BENCHD 76826 for 15% off your first purchase. Shop Dad Gang Hats, quality hats for quality dads.
All right, we are back with the Dallas Cowboys with negative $2.8 million in cap space. No matter what, though, we know we're going to talk about Dallas Cowboys all summer long. We're at the training camp every year. We talk to fans, we talk to whoever will talk to us. And last year, the vibe we got was, listen, they're pissed. They're sick of not being good. I don't think Dallas Cowboy fans are okay with just being the most popular team anymore. I don't think they're okay with just being in the headlines. I think they're sick of sucking and they want to be good again. And last year, the Jerry Jones and the Cowboys were holding out on Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb because that's what good teams do. They hold out on their stars. And they were doing that. Eventually they paid him, which I don't know what that was all about then. But here they are now, negative $2.8 million in cap space. They waited and they paid a ton for Dak Prescott. They paid a ton for CeeDee Lamb because they waited. And now here they are with most of their cap space allocated to just a couple of players. And they still got to sign Micah Parsons. And so unless there's a super long play here that just no one else in the world sees, they're being crazy mismanaged. But I'm going to take over as a GM for this summer, and I'm going to do what I can to make them competitive next year, even with that negative $2.8 million in cap space. We'll start with Daron Bland. Now, Daron Bland, of course, homegrown, the single season record holder for pick sixes. That was the record, right?
Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah, that was an
cool.
Incredible season.
For teams that are over the cap space or over their cap limit and even kind of close is that when you sign a player like Daron Bland to extend him to a long deal, that cap number actually go up. And so I think they give him what he's worth, 4 years, $95 million, to be that CB1 in this team. We'll see what Treyveyon Diggs is in a couple years, but Daron Bland's kind of the future there at cornerback for the Cowboys. They'll help their cap number and keep one of their own in town. I think before you start to add players to this roster, you got to shore up what is actually good. I think Daron Bland's there. Obviously, the big name that's not on this list because I don't know what their plan is, and I don't know what's going to happen is Micah Parsons. They obviously have to extend him. But starting with Daron Bland, I know it's not a big, sexy move, but I think it's a responsible thing for them to do. My next move is defensive tackle Osa Odighizuwa. I think DeMarcus Lawrence moves on. He's older. He's injury prone. The play is starting to decline. I don't think they commit to him. And it seems like a guy who's going to want at least one more payday. I think you bring back, I'll just say Osa, because I don't want to keep having the opportunity to mispronounce that last name. But I think they bring him back. He's not a superstar. He's not what DeMarcus Lawrence was in his prime or anything like that. But he's a solid D tackle who can anchor your defense. And I do think Matt Eberflus is going to work here. Like, I don't love the guy. I don't love him as a head coach for sure. But he's always been able to have a good defense. That's what he's done. And so I think you give him an anchor like this, Daron Bland, Treyveyon Diggs in the back end, and you're starting to build something here on the defensive side. My next move here, though, is I want to get your opinion on this guy. Stefon Diggs, wide receiver formerly of the Vikings, Bills, last year the Texans. Of course, he missed a lot of the year last year with an injury. Comes back now, older, play declining, coming off an injury. $13 million is what he's projected at on a one-year deal. I think it's more like an $8 million deal for him. But I think going back to play with his brother to the Cowboys, where he'll definitely be relevant. Like, he'll definitely be on a lot of, shows and interviews and all that. Like, he'll definitely be a very present star in the league still. Not sure how good he'll be, but he just needs to be the number 2. And we've seen him be okay with C.J. Stroud in a crowded wide receiver room. I think he's fine here next to CeeDee Lamb, and I just think it's a very Dallas Cowboys move. Yeah,
it's on brand. It's a wideout that likes to, that it's kind of a showman. And Dallas Cowboys want to pick up headlines. So I think, business wise, it's a good move. It fits. It's on brand. On the field, he's okay. I mean, but they've always had okay. They never. Ever since Amari Cooper left, they never had a great guy next to CeeDee Lamb, and that's not going to change. It's not going to change with Stefon Diggs. He's going to be. I think him and Brandon Cooks are very, very similar, and Stefon Diggs will hate that people think that, but it's the reality. They're both average to below average wideouts who have moments of flashback moments. But Diggs, it's fine. I think the storyline's great. Him and his brother, obviously. It's a Dallas Cowboys signing. You don't really love it, but it just makes sense.
Let's get some context here. Like, the reason you have to do something like this is because the cap number is not good. You have to go bargain hunting. You have to go, just looking for someone who you can give next to nothing to and hopefully outperform his contract. Stefon Diggs is that kind of guy. Do I think they should probably go get a Devontae Adams or go try to trade for T. Higgins or Cooper Kupp or just name whoever you want? Yeah, they probably should, but they can't afford it. And Jerry Jones has been increasingly tighter with the budget as he gets older, and I just don't think he's going to go break the bank for one of these premier wide receivers right after he just signed CeeDee Lamb. I'm guessing he's thinking, I paid CeeDee Lamb, that should be enough as far as the big name guys in the wide receiver room. I'll just build it with cheaper guys around him. I think for that reason, Stefon Diggs is probably the guy or the type of guy you're going to end up with in Dallas. And my next guy is kind of the same thing here. They've been looking for a middle linebacker ever since they lost that great run of middle linebackers they had for a while, the Van Der Esch and whatnot. Dre Greenlaw, formerly of that great defense in San Francisco, the running mate to Fred Warner, one of the best coverage linebackers in the game when he's healthy. He of course got hurt in the Super Bowl, tore his Achilles, came back, was able to finish last year, so he's definitely has some red flags here. But for the same reason, you got to go bargain hunting here. A 1 year, $6 million deal, I think he's happy with that for sure. And and you get a shot here at someone who if he does well, sign him long term, you have a great middle linebacker.
Yeah, I think if he wouldn't have gotten hurt, he would have been in that conversation with like the, Fred Warners, the Roquan Smiths of the world. Were like, he's not the best, but he's up there. He's top 3, top 5. He just been hurt, and it sucks because he's when he's healthy, he's one of the best linebackers in the game. Can do everything on the field, but because injury, he's here, and Dallas needs to go hunting for players like this. Where like, if this goes right with the risk, it's a good thing, but it's a risk nonetheless. Like, he didn't finish last year. DeAndre Campbell, that whole fiasco happened, and it that just showed that they needed him bad, and he couldn't, and he couldn't fill in the shoes because he's too hurt. But it's this is what Dallas Cowboys have to do, and then they have DeMarvion Overshown. That's another guy there that we should look out for next year. He's kind of an edge player, so I think he'll fit nicely with that. Kind of like the speed of both those guys will probably be nice next to Micah Parsons. It's a very fast linebacker group for a new defensive coordinator, Eberflus, to kind of play with there.
I don't know if you remember this, though. Overshown tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL on his right knee in week 14.
That's what I knew. I was like, why am I not thinking Overshown? Man, he was fantastic. What a bad take. Yeah, he was great. But, I mean, nonetheless, in the future, if Greenlaw works out, they'll have him next to Overshown. But
probably on the same timeline, to be honest. Okay, so I want to stop here real quick. Obviously, there's a big name here in the draft we're going to talk about that I think is realistic. But it's a shame that they don't have the money to invest in this offensive line. They're going to lose Zach Martin, the Hall of Fame guard. I don't love their center. I think they're okay at all the other spots. I don't think they're great at all the other spots, but I think they're...
Tyler Smith is pretty... Tyler Smith is the only guy who was like... But besides that, no.
I don't think anything special, and so I wish they could go. I originally had guys like Daniels here, or Trey Smith, or maybe Josh Myers coming over from the Packers, or there's another center I like too that I'm blanking out.
Ryan Kelly.
Yeah, Ryan Kelly's the guy I had here.
Cold center, yeah.
But they can't afford any of those guys, and so they're gonna have to roll with who they have. Let's move on to the draft, though. Ashton Jeanty is who I think they should target at number 12. There's no great Dallas Cowboy team that I can remember either hearing about before I was, an NFL fan, or even while I've been an NFL fan. There's no Dallas Cowboy team that has been good without a great running back. That's just the truth. That's just the Dallas Cowboys. You think of all the greats, back to Emmitt Smith, I'm trying Walker. Why am I not remembering his first name? Is it Herschel Walker? I've read.
Yeah. And then they I know what you mean. They have the
Zeke Elliott, DeMarco Murray, all these guys we remember the Dallas Cowboy teams being really good with a running back and with the big three. That's kind of their thing too. So you now form a new big three with Ashton Jeanty, of course, out of Boise State, the best running back available in the NFL as far as what we know right now, and with CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, you have a big three, and I think there's no other way to make a splash on this offense or team. And so you got to do it in the draft. And so I think you got to take a big swing in the draft if you're going to compete next year. And Ashton Jeanty is the kind of guy I think. Or maybe you go for one of these, top-end wide receivers. I like Jeanty, though. What do you think?
Yeah, I like him there a lot. It fits what they want to do. Is that last year, obviously, they were just trying to be cheap at running back. And, they actually found something in Rico Dowdle. So I think Rico Dowdle has shown that, like, even like a average to below average running back can do well in this system. So I think Jeanty, who has the promise of like he's the next guy, he's the next, he's number 4 on a lot Daniel Jeremiah's big board. So yeah, obviously he has talent, and it's what the Cowboys do, and I think he would do great there. We got both the O line a little bit, but yeah, Jeanty is exactly what the Cowboys need. Like just a guy to bring hope back. To not have to cheer for Rico Dowdle anymore, or for Royce Freeman, or for these guys that they had last year or Deuce Vaughn, who's still somehow in the league. Jeanty will give them a fresh legs and new energy, and yeah, it's a slam dunk. Because look, the NFL is a copycat league. The Eagles just won with a good running back. You don't think Josh Jacobs had a great year? All these new running backs, Derrick Henry had a great year. It's a copycat league. Jerry Jones, see, I can get a running back like that for cheap. Let's do it.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned Derrick Henry. He got asked about Derrick Henry all year long. As Derrick Henry's out over there having 1,800 yards for the Ravens, and they're struggling with that list of running backs that you mentioned. I think he does not go through another offseason without making a move at running back. I thought Rico Dowdle was pretty good, and I even thought about bringing him back here. But I think he's not the splash you need back there. I think Jeanty or maybe Anderson really takes off in the draft here. Maybe it's Henderson here, but yeah, I agree with you. I think running back is the way to go. Jerry Jones has been on record of saying it kills him that the Eagles have been successful. It killed him when they won the last Super Bowl. I'm sure this last one he hates as well. He wants to get good fast, and I know something he believes in is having a star running back, and I think he makes the move as well. This is the best I can do with Dallas Cowboys. They don't have a lot of money. Re-sign your guys. You'll get back Dak Prescott, which obviously make a huge difference. They were a legit playoff team a year before. They did get blown out by the Packers in the first round, but they were a playoff team. So we know that this team can get to a certain place. We'll answer this question, and then we'll go. If all these moves take place, how do you see? And it's February 21st. A lot's going to happen. But if these moves that we talked about all take place, give me how you see the division right now.
Eagles number one, because they have probably be near the same roster as they did last year.
I don't know how you could defend anything else. You have to put them number one, but yeah.
Commanders at 2, but I don't think the Giants are far off. Maybe 2, 3 games behind. If they get Sam Darnold, if they get Travis Hunter, if they get Trey Smith, if they they're a desperate team starting from the front office down. They're everyone's trying to prove a point. I think this roster is better than people think. I have them 3rd and the Cowboys 4th. I just don't see how they could turn this roster into a playoff contender. And this might be a very good division. This might be what the NFC North was last year, where they were all good. It's just they were all happened to be in division with each other. So that's just why that's ended up happening. But this might be a very good. If this plays out the way we just said it would, this is going to be one of the better divisions in football.
Yeah, I think the same. I do. I think there's a little more of a gap with the Commanders and the Giants, but I mean we'll see. I know last year, Terrell had a very similar take of what the Commanders would end up, and I thought it was comical to think they're going to be as good as the Cowboys, but look how that played out. And so who knows? Maybe the Giants are next year's riser. I would hope that these risers stop happening in the Eagles division, but
yeah,
whatever it is. I think this is Daboll's last chance though. Like if he didn't do it this year, he's probably gone.
Yeah, that team is from the GM, from Joe Sheen, from being embarrassed all year to Daboll, people questioning whether he's a good head coach or not, or good quarterback guru, or whatever, to Sam Darnold trying to prove again that he's not what he used to be. It's a bunch of guys trying to prove it. I think he put it. I just have a good feeling about this Giants team here.
Yeah. Okay, that's our off-season fix-it episode for the NFC East. That's what we would do with those teams. We'll be back on what's today? Friday. So we'll be back on Monday with a brand new episode. What division you want to do, Ames? Let's pick it right now.
NFC North. Let's stay in the
Ooh,
NFC North.
NFC North. NFC North episode on Monday. We'll be back in the studio with pretty much the full crew. We'll see you then. Until then, bye.
Peace.